matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad. This morning, unfortunately, we are not able to sing together, but we can clap. So I want to see everyone clapping together in this moment. Hine matov, there it is. Umanayim sheberachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom and good morning on this beautiful Shabbat day. I invite those of you who are here in the room to turn and wave and greet each other with a Shabbat Shalom warm greeting. And for those who are watching by way of our live stream service, please feel free to comment on our website with messages of congratulations and love. I do request that if you're watching this online, that before entering a comment, if you'll please change your name by clicking the little gear symbol next to the word submit. This will help our community to see who's contributing to the chat and will make for a really beautiful keepsake for Sydney and Zoe and their families.
And so now we move to this prayer, Elohai Neshama. It can be found on page 174. I hope that you've had a chance to get a prayer book on your way in, or maybe there are some in the pews in front of you. And this prayer, my God, the soul you have given me is pure. And Shabbat gives us this opportunity to take a breath, to take a pause from the busy week, and to feel ourselves resouled, to feel our souls restored on this morning. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi tehorahi. Ata birata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi. Ve'ata meshamra bekirbi. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi tehorahi.
We now continue on page 195 of the prayer book, page 195. Sydney and Zoe, who are becoming Benot Mitzvah this Shabbat, will lead us in prayer, receive the Torah as it is passed through the generations, and read their parsha in the presence of this congregation. I call forward Sydney at this time for the Baruch Hu. Would you all please rise?
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvrei hoshech, oseh shalom uvrei et hakol. This prayer is about the wonder of creation. I want to share a creative reflection that is not on the page in front of you. Author of life, architect of creation, artist of earth, your works declare your holy name. Mighty rivers, turbulent seas, towering mountains, rolling hills, vast spaces of brilliance and grandeur. You created palette and paint, color and hue, shape and form, abundant and beautiful, glorious and majestic, full of mystery and wonder. Blessed are you, with divine love you created a world of splendor. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'ma'orot. We continue responsively on page 199. Page 199. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear, in every land and every age. Your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways, and yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity.
We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we would turn to you and find purpose.
May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, havocher ba'amo Yisrael b'chava. Please be seated. V'yachavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'elech asher nochim et avecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shitecha b'veitecha uletecha v'aderech ukshobecha uvkumecha ukshartam le'ot al yadecha v'chayu tutafot b'neinecha uvtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Laman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'lechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher tzeitzyatem me'eretz Mitzrayim li'yot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. We read together on the bottom of page 203. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content. Her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. La 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 la. ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Beautiful job, Cindy. You may return to your seat with your family in the pew, and I invite up Zoe at this time to lead us in the Amidah.
Service continues on pages 205 and 206. Please rise. Adonai, Sephaf Takifkaf, Ufi Agita Hiwateha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zoher Hasdei Avot v'Imahot, V'mavi Kula Lebnei Bneihem, L'man Shemo B'Hava, Melech Chazer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezra Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mehayeh Hakol, Atah V'Lev Shia, Morid Hatal, Mehakel Hayim Behesed, Mehayeh Hakol Be'Rahamim Rabim, Somet Noflim V'Refei Holim, Umatira Sarim, Umakayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Mihamo Habal Giverot, Umidom Melach, Melch Mimi, Umahaye, Umatzmi Yeshua, Vanamonata Lahayot Hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mehaye Hakol.
Our next prayer, which can be found on page 208, is called the Kedusha. It is a prayer about holiness, which is something that is a theme of our morning, as that is the Torah portion we are reading from, Kedoshim, holiness. And this prayer offers us an opportunity to feel this holiness with our bodies. So many of our prayers are just a lot of words, and this gives us this unique moment to feel this holiness. And so when we get to the word for holy, which is kadosh, we sing it 3 times. And so we will all go up onto our toes each time we say the word kadosh. And then for these other 2 moments, I'm going to show you so that we can feel this holiness together.
Nikadesh, Nikadesh, Nikadesh et Shemecha ba'olam, Nikadesh et Shemecha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto, Bishmei marom, Kakatov aliyad nevi'echa, V'karazel ezel ve'amar, Kadosh,
be seated. We continue on the bottom of page 210.
Vishamru bnei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam berit olam. Vishamru bnei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein bnei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru bnei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru bnei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. Vishamru bnei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat lidorotam berit olam.
The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to holiness and time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. We continue responsively by paragraph on page 212. On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties. Grant us the compassion we need to attend to others.
Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best in those around us.
Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you.
We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otah levad ha-b'yirah na'avod. We continue at the bottom of the next page. Modim anachnu lach, she'atah hu Adonai Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu le'olam va'ed. This prayer is about gratitude. I want to share a creative reflection that is not on the page in front of you. We thank you, for you are the eternal our God, God of our fathers and mothers forever, nurturing rock of our life, protecting shield of our triumph, in ancient generations and our own. We thank you, we spin tales of your praise. For our lives which you shape in your hand, for our souls which you hold in trust, for your miracles which jump in front of us each day, for your wonders, your favors which suffuse our time on dark days, and when the sun is high. O good one, your nurture never dries up. O compassionate one, your acts of love are without end. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'tov shemha ilahan lehodot. We continue on with our prayer for peace, Sim Shalom, on the top of page 216.
And so on this morning, we're actually going to pray a special prayer that I think is relating to peace. It is a line that Zoe is going to be chanting for us in just a moment. And so as she makes her way back to her seat, we sing this prayer that says these words that say, "And you shall love your neighbor as yourself," which feels like a recipe for peace.
Inspired by that melody and those words from Torah, we now take a moment to turn inside ourselves to reflect on this week, to offer a special and silent prayer. The highlight of our Shabbat morning service is the Torah service, where we'll get to hear Sydney and Zoe chant from Torah. And so it is my delight to invite them with their parents to the reader's table as we begin our Torah service. We turn in our prayer books to page 244.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, v'ein kemasecha, malechutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memishaltecha b'chol ador v'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai melech, Adonai melech.
Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God.
Happy is the one who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. Where its value is greater than silver, its yield than fine gold. It's more precious than rubies, no treasure can match it.
Sydney and Zoe and Regan and John, if you'll please face me, and I invite the congregation to please rise as we prepare to pass the Torah. Sydney and Zoe, so much has gone into preparing for this day, really for this moment, as you are about to receive the greatest gift you'll ever get, which is the gift of Torah. But really, Torah has been passed to you since you were born, from your grandparents and your parents, all those who love you, all in your family who know these teachings have been showering the messages, maybe literally telling you some of the stories, but really in how they act and treat you, engage in the world around them. So now, today, you become this next link in a very long line of tradition. And when you open up the Torah scroll, you will see the words looking back at you. Now a special piece of text that you know differently, that you will teach us about, that you become one who shares your interpretation. And so not only from the line of your family, but from the line of our great teachers and thinkers, we now hear your voices as part of that tradition. My hope is just as the scribe dots the ink onto the sacred parchment that gets soaked up and becomes part of the parchment itself, that these lessons, these teachings, and the way of life that Torah tells us are also being soaked deep into your kishkas, into your souls, so that you then can pass it one day to the next generation.
And so you will hear the words Lador Vador, from generation to generation. These generations that have come before you make you, Sydney, into you, and you, Zoe, into you. You have become yourselves. We are so honored to learn from you, these capable voices this morning.
Passing with hearts full of love from their place in the pews this morning, our very proud grandparents, Sandy Scheinberg, Susie Krumholt, and Frank Kasman. And now passing Torah to Sydney and Zoe are their parents, Regan and John Kasman. John, I invite you to pick up the scroll and begin the passing.
Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatcha nagdish, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatcha nagdish.
In this scroll is the secret of our people's lives from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Regan, I invite you to now take the scroll and place it back on the stand. Those of you in the congregation may please be seated. And as we get ready for this morning's Torah chanting, first we hear blessings from Regan and John to Zoe as she prepares to chant from Torah.
I think Zoe's blessing is on
Zoe's side.
Zoe's side.
Zoe, the pride we feel in our hearts at this very moment is equal to the love we felt for you and Sydney. where we saw you for the first time almost 13 years ago. You girls started come to Emanu for baby break when you were about 9 months old. Next was Tat Shabbat and then consecration, surrounded by family and friends, many of whom are with us this morning. We hope you feel a sense of community and belonging each time you enter the doors to this building. We also hope that your Jewish education so far has provided you with a strong understanding of the importance of community, the importance community places on justice for all, service and compassion towards others, and the importance of family. We pray that these teachings will follow you throughout your life and serve as guiding principles.
You are a lover of animals in Green Family Camp. When you were a little girl, you, your sister, and a few friends started canine pets. There were binders with business plans and a shoebox that contained the initial cash investments in the business. This was the beginning of your love for animals, which has only intensified since Scout joined our family. We are proud of your Mitzvah and Tzedakah projects in support of furry friends in need of a little love. Your 3 favorite weeks of the year are spent at Green Family Camp, your home away from home. The minute you pass through the gates, that megawatt smile appears on your face. You enjoy the independence and the ability to simply run free. I have good news for you, Zizo. Camp starts 51 days from today. We hope that you stay true to yourself. Be your own person as you have always been. We hope you can notice all the wonderful qualities about yourself and those around you. We hope you know that you can do anything you set your mind to. We hope you dream big and never place limits on yourself.
You have worked hard to learn your prayers and Torah portion. We are delighted by your accomplishments here today. We hope you know how much we love you, and our love for you is like a circle with no beginning and no end.
So I invite you to take the cover off of the scroll and go ahead and open the scroll to find your portion in front of you. You'll go ahead and grab your yad. This morning, Zoe will be chanting from one of our double portions, Parshat Achrei Mot Kiddushim. She will be chanting from Leviticus chapter 19, verses 9 through 18. And for the honor of the first Aliyah this morning, we invite up Zoe's aunt, uncle, and cousins, Morgan, David, Gray, Caden, and Caden Warren, to the Aliyah table on the floor.
Yamdu Aliyah LeTorah.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bahar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ufkutchahem et kitzurtchahem lo tehalet be'atzarha lizor ve'lek et kitzurha lo telakate v'harmaha lo te'olel uferet harmaha lo telakate la'ani ve'lagertazo votam ani Adonai lehem lo tignovu ve'lo tehahashu ve'lo tishakru ish ba'amito ve'lo tishavu v'ismila shakher v'hilal tat et Shem Elohecha ani Adonai.
Closing blessing.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'toheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. For the honor of the second blessing this morning, we invite Zoe's parents, Regan and John Kasman.
Yamdu Aliyah LeTorah.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Atah Adonai
Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Lo tashuk et re'aha velo tigzol, lo talin pu'lot sakir ha'ad boker, lo tikaleo he'reish, v'lifnei iver, lo titain mishul, v'yaretam Elohecha ani Adonai. Lo ta'asu avil b'mishpat, velo tisa f'nei dal, velo tehidor f'nei gadol, v'tzedek tishbotam iteha.
Closing blessing.
Baruch atah
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. For the third Aliyah this morning, we call Zoe to the Torah using her Hebrew name, recognizing her as a more capable, learned member of our community, one who now has the sacred responsibility to help lead us in prayer and say blessings on our behalf. And it is our answer to her prayer, our Amen, that recognizes her as Bat Mitzvah. And so we call Zoe Drew Kasman to the Torah.
Tamod, tamod, abachura bat mitzvah, devora bat Rachel, aliyah leTorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher barach banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Lo telech Rahil be'ameha, lo ta'amod al damreha, ani Adonai. Lo stizna etahiha bilvaveha, oheach tohia etamiteha, v'lo tisa alav hate, lo tikam v'lo titor et b'nei ameha, ve'ahavta li'reaha kamoha, ani Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'Eloheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. Beautiful, beautiful chanting. Zoe, I invite you to roll your scroll closed and put the cover on top of it. With the sound of Torah and these instructions sweet and refreshed in our ears, we think of those in our community who are in need of the kindness that Torah teaches us and reminds us of this day. The way that we care for others as we would want to be cared for, especially when we are not well, when our spirits are in some way darkened, when our bodies are diminished by disease or illness. And so we pray our Mishaberach prayer. The words can be found in your prayer book on page 253 in the middle of the page. And we pray this Mishaberach for all those who are in need of healing on this Shabbat.
Mishaberach avoteinu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema.
As we prepare to continue with our Torah reading, we have the opportunity now to hear a special blessing from Regan and John for Sydney. Zoe, I invite you to stand back by the other scroll.
Sydney, our hearts are overflowing with joy as we look at you this morning and celebrate the wonderful young lady you have become. It is hard to believe that you and Zoe are old enough to be celebrating this significant milestone. You have shared the same Jewish journey as your sister, and our hope is that your experience here in Emmanuel becomes an important part of your identity as you continue through life. We love your bright smile that rarely leaves your face and hope that your smile lights your way in the future. We love your sense of confidence and that after you have watched a YouTube video on any subject, you have mastered that subject, whether it be playing tennis like you are ready for Wimbledon or mastering skiing by watching Cloud 9 100 times before our first ski trip to Lake Tahoe. We love how kind you are to others, that the words please and thank you come so naturally to you, and that you are always willing to lend a helping hand.
We have enjoyed watching you prepare for this day and the periodic singing of the prayers that we have heard coming out of the shower. We hope that you always have the ability to think of others and their feelings. We hope that your friendships brighten your being. We hope that you have fun around every corner and the energy to chase your dreams. We hope you find something to be grateful for, even if life seems unbearable. We hope your life is full of health, happiness, and the satisfaction of working hard to achieve something that's important to you. We are so proud of the marvelous job you have done this morning. We hope you know how much we love you. Our love for you is like a circle with no beginning and no end.
Sydney, I invite you to uncover the Torah scroll and make sure your portion is in front of you. Sydney will be chanting from Leviticus chapter 19, verses 23 through 32. For the honor of the fourth Aliyah this morning, we call up Sydney's grandparents, Sandy Scheinberg, Susie Krumholt, and Frank Kasman to the Aliyah table.
Yamdu Aliyah Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher B'chabanu Mikol Ha'amim V'notan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'chi tavohu el ha'aretz, untatem kol eitz ma'achal, va'araltem orlato et pirio, shalosh shanim. Yihye lachem, arelim lo yachel, uvashana charveit, yihye kol pirio, kodesh ulim ladonai. Uvashana chachamishit, tochlu et pirio, l'chosif lachem tevuato, ani Adonai Elohechem.
Closing blessing.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher Notan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Olam Notah B'Sochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov. For the honor of the fifth Aliyah, we call Sydney's parents, Regan and John Kasman.
Yamdu Aliyah Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Lo tachlu al chadam, lo tanachashu velo ta'onenu, lo takifu pe'at roshchem, v'tashit et pe'at zikanecha, v'sheret lanefesh, lo titnu v'yisarchem, uktovet kaka, lo titnu bachem ani Adonai.
Closing blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
For the sixth Aliyah this morning, our final Aliyah, we now call Sydney to the Torah, recognizing her learning and her commitment to this process as one who now has all the skills and capabilities and really the love of this community to lead us and say blessings on our behalf. And when we say amen, we recognize her officially as bat mitzvah. And so it is with great pride that we call to the Torah Sydney Brooke Kasman.
Tamod, tamod, habachura bat mitzvah, beracha bat Rachel aliyah leTorah.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol chamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Al techalel et bichal chaznota lo tiznei haaretz umal haaretz zima et shabtotai tishmaru umikdashi tira'u ani Adonai al tifnu el chavot vel chayidonim al tevakshu letom avachem ani Adonai loechem mibnei seva Takum v'chadarta penei zakein v'yereta me'elohecha ani Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tuheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Sydney, I invite you to roll the scroll together and place the cover on top. Regan and John, you may return to your seats in the pew as Zoe and Sydney will now lead us in this Shabbat morning's Haftorah portion. This Shabbat's Haftorah comes from the book of Amos, chapter 9, and we'll begin with verse 14. But before we begin with the prophetic reading, our Benot Mitzvah will chant the opening blessing together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ritzah b'divrechem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'moshech avdo u'Yisrael amo u'minvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Hine yamin ba'im ne'um Adonai v'nigash horesh ba'kotzer v'dorech hanavim b'moshech hazara v'hitifu heharim asiz v'hol hagva'ot titmogagna.
V'shavti et shavut ami Yisrael uvanu arim neshamot v'yashavu v'nat'u chiramim v'shatu et yenam v'asu ganot v'achlu et perichem unetatim al admatam v'lo inashu od me'al admatam asher Natati lachem amar Adonai Elohecha.
Closing blessing.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Sor kol chalamim Sadik b'chol chadarot Ha'el chane'eman Cha'omer ve'osei Hamdaber kayem Shekol devarav emet v'tzedek Al chatorah V'al chavodah V'al chanevim V'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu L'kedusha v'limnucha L'chavod u'tifaret Al chakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach Umvarchem otach Yet barashemcha Rufi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Sydney, you may be seated, and this is the moment where we get to hear our Benot Mitzvah's interpretation on Torah. Zoe, your speech is up at the top by there you go. If you flip it over, you'll find the beginning. There you go.
My parsha is Kedoshim in the book of Leviticus. Kedoshim means holiness, and the Torah portion teaches us how to be holy or close to God. You might think that the way to be holy is to go to services or celebrate religious holidays, but that's not what the Torah says. Kedoshim says that holiness is shown in how we respect or treat other people. God created all people to be the same, and when we treat each other with kindness, we honor God. One interesting commandment in my portion says, "And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap all the way to the edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger." This means you leave the corners of your field unharvested for the less fortunate to come and harvest it for themselves. Rabbi Judith Greenberg says that we learn that we leave this produce in our fields so that the less fortunate, those without fields of their own, will have food to eat and a little livelihood. I think this commandment is important because you give this person the opportunity to work to get their harvest. Doing this work could inspire the person to have new skills and find the courage that they need to get a job and get out of poverty. This verse also teaches us to think about what we have by showing us that we're lucky to have more than some people. One modern way we might honor this commandment is by donating to the food bank. I think that this is a very similar concept because people go to the food bank the same way people would go to the edge of your field and pick your harvest. When you give food or money to the food bank, it can also remind you to appreciate what you have. You appreciate having money because you are aware there are people less fortunate than you. I think that the point of this commandment is to remind us that you may not have as much as some people, but you have a lot more than others. You shouldn't take for granted what you have because you may not have it forever. This portion also tells you to leave the edges of your field unharvested so that whoever goes to get the fruit has to go and put effort into doing it to try and give them the courage to get back up again. For my Mitzvah project, I chose to support the Houston SPCA. I have put together an Amazon wish list of essentials that the SPCA needs for the animals, like cat litter, puppy pads, and toys. Thanks to those of you who chose to donate items to my project. I also made chew toys out of old shirts for their foster program. I chose to support the Houston SPCA because I've always liked animals. I felt like right now, lots of people are donating to important organizations like the food bank to help people, but I wanted to make sure animals were not forgotten. For my Tzedakah project, I chose to give a donation to Green Family Camp. I go to Green and love getting to spend 3 weeks in the summer with my friends away from my parents. So it is very important to me to give the less fortunate families a chance to send their kids to Green. I would like for Green to use my donation for camp scholarships so that more kids get the chance to go to camp. There are lots of people that have helped me get to this day, and I would like to say thank you. I would like to start by thanking all my teachers and the clergy for helping me and teaching me all my blessings and prayers. Thank you to all my friends, especially Maisie, Lexi, and Dahlia, for always having time to spend with me and for all the fun we have. Momo, Uncle David, Gray, and Kaden, thank you for always being there for me and helping and having fun together. Aunt Jamie, Uncle Kenny, Sam, and Drew. Even though we don't live in the same state, I always love coming to visit you. Grandma, thank you for always having time for me. Gigi, I've loved seeing you this past year. Thank you for convincing Mommy to get a dog. Pop Frank, thanks for coming to visit us. Mommy, thank you for all the ways you've helped me in this process, like helping us to practice and make the wish list for our Mitzvah projects. Thanks for always cooking dinner, even when you've had a bad day at work. Daddy, thank you for always helping me when I need some help with my homework. Thanks for helping me get better at tennis. Thanks for always entertaining us with your terrible dad jokes. I love you both. Finally, thank you to Sydney. I know we don't always get along, but I know I can always count on you. Thanks for playing tennis with me. My bat mitzvah experience has taught me many things. I've learned how to keep up with all my homework and manage my tasks. When I look back on this day, I'm going to remember how it was a lot different for us and how this process looked for other kids before the pandemic. It's a very different experience doing everything online. Even here in the sanctuary, we're all wearing masks and social distancing. Still, it's great that some of you can be here in person and that we have the technology for others to join who can't be here in person today. I plan to continue my Jewish education by going to upper school here at Emanu and going to Israel with my friends. Thank you all for joining me today. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. Really beautifully done. Take a deep breath. Let it go. So good. I'm really just so thrilled to be on the Bima with you. It makes it extra special because I've had a nice relationship with your family, the generations of your family, and of course with you. I remember time we spent at Green Family Camp together, so that also makes it really special. And seeing you read and lead and teach and chant this morning, and the amount of pride in this room for all that you've done, I hope that you can feel that love surrounding you and that it will be a memorable and happy moment that you carry with you all the days ahead. You know, you talk about this idea of being holy and that it's not about sort of Jewish particular stuff, right? It's not about lighting Shabbat candles or saying prayers in temple, but really at the core of our holiness is how we interact and engage with others in the world. And you give the very specific example about leaving the corners of our field for those who are in need. I love that you picked this example because what I know about you is that you're a very caring and sensitive person and that you are a good observer of what's going on around you. And when somebody is in need, I would imagine the vulnerability that they feel can sometimes make it hard to ask for help. And that the way we learn to perform this mitzvah, to just leave things and give others a chance in a very private and quiet and dignified way, aligns very much with the kind of sensitive soul that I know that you have. And so that you honed in on this mitzvah and the details of this mitzvah is so beautiful. I pray that the days ahead will always be filled and be true to Torah for you, and that there'll be lots of blessings ahead. Mazel tov to you and your family. You may be seated. Sydney, your turn. Come on up.
My parsha is Achrei Mot Kedoshim in the book of Leviticus. In the parsha Achrei Mot, it describes the rituals of Yom Kippur. It talks about how the high priest symbolically transferred the people's sins to a goat and sent the goat into the wild. This is where the phrase scapegoat comes from, because they put all their blame on the goat. Achrei Mot also mentions how we are not to consume blood when we eat the sacrificed animals. In the Parsha Kedoshim, it talks about how Israelites are commanded to leave the corners of their fields unharvested and leave any fallen fruit for the poor. It also contains the commandment not to steal and says that not paying your workers is the same as stealing from them. The most interesting part of my parsha for me was the commandment that said we can't eat the fruit of a newly planted tree until the 4th year. When I first read this law, I was surprised. I thought that when you first plant a tree, you are so excited for it to grow. Why would God want you to wait a certain amount of time to eat from it? 4 years sounds like an awfully long time to wait. Rabbi Ismar Schwartz said there is a midrash that makes it a commandment, a mitzvah, to plant new trees. He explains, not only does a conquest of Canaan require of us to work the land, it also imposes on us the obligations to steward it responsibly. We found the land covered with trees planted by others when we entered it, says the midrash, and that is how we are supposed to hand it on. No one is ever to say, I'm too old to worry about the welfare of the next generation. I like the idea that the act of planting trees is a mitzvah. Planting trees shows God that we can be self-sufficient and take care of what God made. When we take care of trees and plant new trees, we are showing God that we have learned the lessons that God wanted us to learn. This is like when kids go off to college. They show their parents that they can take care of themselves and have learned the lessons their parents wanted them to learn. Taking responsibility proves to our parents that we have what it takes to be young adults. Just like taking care of trees proves to God that we are ready to take care of the earth that God has made. A way that I show my parents I am self-sufficient is taking care of my dog. When we got Scout, I promised that I would help take care of her. I show that I can be self-sufficient by feeding her and taking her on walks. Doing all of this shows my parents that I have learned the lessons of responsibility that they have tried to teach me. Another big part of being self-sufficient is doing your chores without being reminded. A lot of the time, I don't wait for my parents to ask me to feed Scout. I do it without being asked. Being self-sufficient is a very important characteristic for my future, and it also shows my parents that all their hard work is paying off. The Torah commands us that we can't eat the fruit of a newly planted tree until the 4th year. This teaches that planting a tree is a mitzvah. By planting trees, we are showing God that we can be self-sufficient and take care of the earth that God gave us. Just like when we are responsible, we show our parents that we have learned from them. When we take care of the earth, we show God that we have learned God's lessons. For my mitzvah project, I chose to volunteer at Kids Meals. Kids Meals is a nonprofit organization that provides food for preschool-aged children in Houston. I wanted to volunteer at Kids Meals because I think that they are so important. I know that so many kids are not as privileged as I am. Preschool-aged kids should not have to worry about when they're going to eat next. Kids Meals helps so many kids that are really struggling, especially during this hard time when so many people have lost their jobs. I made an Amazon wish list containing foods like goldfish, applesauce, and more. I sent an email with a wish list to lots of friends and family, including many of you. All of the food that was purchased was sent directly to Kids Meals. I also decorated lunch bags so that when the meals are delivered, the kids get a bag with an affirmation or fun design on it. Thank you to all who participated in this project. For my Tzedakah project, I'm going to make an additional donation to Kids Meals. With my donation, I hope that they are able to feed more kids. At the moment, they are feeding more than 6,100 kids a day, but there are still so many kids that can't eat. Every day at Kids Meals, they are trying to feed more and more kids, and I'm honored to be able to help them do that. There are so many people that helped me reach this milestone, and I want to take some time to thank them. First, I would like to thank all of the teachers and clergy for helping me learn all my prayers and my Torah portion. Thank you to all of my friends, especially Lexi, Maisie, and Dahlia, for always being there for me and making so many amazing memories with me. Thank you, Momo, Uncle David, Gray, and Caden, for always making me laugh and always letting me be myself around you all. And Jamie, Uncle Kenny, Sam, and True. Even though you can't be here in person, I love visiting you in Lake Tahoe. Pop Frank, I always have so much fun when you come and visit us. Grandma, thank you for always spending time with me and helping me whenever I need it. Gigi, I love when we visit you in Austin, and I'm so happy that we have been able to meet up halfway between Austin and Houston over the past few months. Dad, thank you so much for always being there to help. You are always there to help me with my homework and to teach me stuff that I don't already know. I love when we do fun activities together, like playing tennis when I beat you, or taking Scout on walks. Even though your dad jokes don't really make sense, they always make me laugh. Mom, thank you so much for always working so hard for our family. You always work so hard to make sure that we are fed and the house is clean. I admire that you never give up and always do your best. I love doing art with you and baking and cooking, but mostly because it means we get to talk. I love you both. Finally, Zoe. We are twins, but you are not only my sister. You're also a built-in best friend. Even though we don't always get along, I know that whenever I need help, I can ask you. I love when we have sleepovers in your room with Scout. In that block of time, we try hard not to fight, and it's so great just to spend time together. Sharing this experience with you has been extra special because we have been through so much together. Thank you so much to everyone who is able to be here in person and those who are watching online for taking your time to celebrate this milestone with us. My bat mitzvah experience has taught me that hard work really pays off. When I look back on this day, the first thing I'm going to think about is the process leading up to it. I have worked so hard to accomplish this, and I learned to never give up even when it gets difficult. The Torah teaches us that nothing is impossible. If the Israelites had given up, we would not be where we are today. I plan to continue my Jewish learning in upper school, and I look forward to becoming a TA, and when I'm old enough, traveling to Israel with my Hofmann class. Thank you for supporting us today. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. And I am thrilled that you'll be continuing with your sister in our upper school program and going to Israel with your friends. That is so awesome. And again, getting to know you and your family and having a chance to really see you grow and celebrate this day brings me sort of a personal joy to feel so connected to you. Mazel Tov to you and to your family. You really led us with great skill and capability, and you seemed really calm and confident. And I hope that that's how you'll always feel about your learning. Excited about it and skillful in it, that there will be some rigor and challenge to it, but that then when you're celebrating and sharing that wisdom with others, that you'll continue to beam forth that sense of pride. You know, you pick up on this idea about planting a tree and waiting 4 years, right? Gosh, that seems like forever. And for those who are celebrating in the room with you, especially your family, they remember when you were born. And part of the reason that they have tears of joy is because seeing the growth and how fast those years go and seeing who you've become. And sort of when we nurture a tree similarly, right? I don't know if you've ever planted a tree before, but watching a tree grow is similar in that we see and then can be amazed at what it has become. And that the fruit sort of changes, just like children change, just like all of us change over the years. You know, something you didn't mention that I wanted to comment on and add to your teaching this morning is that part of the magic of when we plant something and part of the beauty about when we help to nurture something or someone else or your pet like you talked about and showing this responsibility is that it's a great reminder that we're in partnership with God, right? And that you and that we all bring our talents and our skills, right? Knowing how to plant a tree and digging a hole and watering it and having the stuff to do that. But there's a part of it that's really out of our control. And that we are reminded in all of these ventures that we are partners with God. And that having faith in what might be can sometimes be a little scary. Right? It can sometimes be, it's something out of our control, but having faith that something will be that we want can also bring us tremendous blessing. And you are the fulfillment of a lot of that faith, and a lot of effort, and a lot of hard work, and a lot of love and joy. And then the beautiful product, right, of all that nurturing from your family, from your community, the teachings that have been shared with you, and a lot that is a blessing from God. And we celebrate those things today, so thankful for those blessings of who you're becoming and the fact that you share that with us. Mazel Tov to you and to your family. I now invite your sister and your parents forward to the bima for a special blessing in front of the open ark. As I have said to them before, they will be my proxy arms wrapped around you, and I invite the congregation as the ark is opened to please rise.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
יאיר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך.
May the light of God's presence shine down upon you and be very sweet and gracious to you.
יישא אדוני פניו
May God's goodness and blessing surround you all the days of your life, and may you know the greatest blessing of all, the blessing of peace. Amen. You may be seated.
Simmons tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and Simmons tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and Simmons tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and Simmons tov. Yehelanu, 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 Uli Kol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Uli Kol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Uli Kol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Uli Kol Yisrael.
Zoe and Sydney, it's so special to celebrate with you and your families today. Our whole congregation takes such pride in your accomplishments. Earlier this week, you received special gifts, including certificates indicating that gifts of tzedakah have been made in your honor. You received an Israeli savings bond, a personalized embossed copy of the Plaut Modern Torah Commentary, and thanks to the generosity of the Barish family, a fabulous free 4-week trip to Poland and Israel with your temple friends after your 10th or 11th grade year, when you remain enrolled and regularly attend our Helfman Upper Schools as you plan to do. A few announcements. I want to make sure everyone knows that next week's Friday evening service will include our graduation from our Helfman Religious School 12th graders. So we will not have open registration for spaces in the pews here in the Barish Sanctuary, so that we can allow families of our Helfman graduates to attend the service and graduation. Emanu has moved into phase 4 of our reopening plan, which has increased the amount of in-person programming at Temple and expanded our worship opportunities. While we will not have space at next Friday's service, if you are interested in joining us for Shabbat services here on a Friday night, we do ask that you help us prepare by registering through our website with a deadline of the Thursday night prior to any Shabbat. As a reminder, our Shabbat worship will, of course, also continue to be accessible online in the ways that which people are connecting with us now. Any additional updates will continue to be shared on our website and with our congregation directly. And for those of you who are joining us here on this Shabbat morning in the sanctuary, at the conclusion of our service, please remain in your seats for a few moments so that we can dismiss in a way to ensure social distancing. We will then ask that you please leave your prayer books in the pew and space yourself from others as you exit the sanctuary to make your way directly out of the building. As we turn towards the conclusion of this service, on this day of great celebration and joy, Zoe and Sydney and their family are remembering many dear ones who are very much here with us in spirit. They are remembering Mel Scheinberg, Ray and Morris Scheinberg, Esther and Max Buckman, Morton Krumholtz, Dora and Ben Golub, Helen and Jake Kasman. And our hearts go out in sympathy to the family of Catherine Smolinski, laid to her eternal resting place just in recent days. Zichronam livracha, may their righteous memories always be for blessing as we rise as one congregation to praise God with the words of Kaddish. Page 294. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabba, B'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam olamei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithale v'yithalal shemei dekudusha brihu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
We conclude our service with this prayer for peace, Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Adonai oz li'amoitain, Adonai yavarechet amo v'shalom. Eternal God, we pray, bless us with strength. Eternal God, we pray, bless us with peace. Amen. Shabbat shalom and mazel tov.
Shabbat Shalom.